Hi, everybody. So this video is going to be super rough because I have a bird. That's one of the problems, right? Always chooses to be loud at the worst times. But I'm like a perfectionist and a procrastinator, and the two together are and have anxiety, really bad mix. I'm like not able to get something started until I feel like everything is perfect, but then I'll just put it off forever. And so I just need to jump right in and start making videos and just let the quality get better over time. So I am Azure, as I am known, and I've been known for about since 2015 is when I opened up my business back in September. So I don't want to do a introductory video just yet because of the reasons that I mentioned, but I've been sort of waiting to see if there was some sort of video idea that would pop up that felt like it was ideal to talk about. And of course, in the nebula that is my brain, nothing was happening until something came forward finally. And I'm like, now, right now, you know? Um, so I am much of my magical journey and spiritual journey and metaphysical journey has come from working with gods. And so people call them immortals. I tend to call them immortal through my business. The whole divine hierarchy and how everything works, it's very nuance. So it's sort of like just a stamp for everything is great. But pretty much the way that I've come to understand these beings is that they are sort of like servants to the universe or servants to all creation. Um, and in a way, they are all creation, in the way that we all are all creation. Um, immortal, divine, the universe, just all of those different termages. And so what's beautiful about the process is that the universe always has a purpose in mind for everyone, and the universe never forgets, which is great. It's so loving and so beautiful, and, very comforting. However, the universe is also a perfectionist, and the universe does not understand the word no, and the universe is really shitty with boundaries. So it's a real important thing for us in our spiritual journey to keep in mind what we want. What are we interested? Because the universe could absolutely keep giving and giving and giving. And by giving, I mean getting, really. So not trying to make the salt come out, because it's just a time right now. But it's like you can get a lot from the universe, but the universe can also ask for a lot. And so what I've found is through my own personal experience is that it is a perfectionist. Um, the sort of perfectionist that's always like, you know, like I always compare myself like a sword, but could easily be a woodworking, piece of furniture. It doesn't have to be focused on combat or an implement that's used for violence, right? But just that there's flaws. And so I feel like this is bouncing off of my own process because I see a flaw and I have a hard time saying that's good enough. I really bad, really bad. So I'll go back to the grindstone and I'll keep sharpening the blade, or working on the um, the piece of furniture. Problem is you can keep finding flaws, you know, and so understanding that stopping point is important. And when it comes to sharpening the blade or reworking the blade, or it comes to, redoing the piece of furniture, like you can do it so poorly that it like and keep like hitting at it, and trying to rework it, that you can absolutely ruin the thing that you're trying to perfect. I mean, that happens like across the board in so many different areas. So it is really important just to learn when to stop, right? But the universe doesn't, like, it does understand our limits and our breaking points. And this can also be compared from like a more Christian perspective, or a spiritual coming out of Christian perspective in terms of, like God, right? Understands our limits in a way that we don't understand it, in a way that makes us feel insane as we're going through different things, in a way that makes us feel like, why me? And it just keeps happening. Um, I'm a very optimistic person. I like to see on the brighter things. I believe in the whimsy in life. Um, so like there's just this colorfulness that I've always looked for, that I always enjoy, that I always experience in life, that for me makes life worth living. And I think a part of being on your healing journey is understanding what that looks like. And it has a lot to do with simple pleasures. And that's just what I'm drawn to. But of course, as a working professional, or as somebody who um, needs to attract income, attract money, right? There's a certain business to the grindstone type of intellect, or farming, or however you want to depict it. And so the same part of my neurodivergence that makes it very difficult for me to start something is also extremely resistant to like normal employment, which is why I sort of began my business in the first place. And so it's just been a lot of back and forth between me and the universe and my neurodivergence, and just in cycles. But anyway, back to my point. There's a sense of whimsy that I adore about life, but then there's a sense of somberness that feels very restricting, but is necessary when it comes to anything that's work, or economic, I guess you could say, related. And I had the pulse of things. Okay, I had the pulse of things. I'm doing like hand gestures, and you guys can't see it because it's like too far down. But I had the pulse of things before all of this nonsense started. And I was like, okay, this is my whimsy box. This is my work box. And the work stuff, getting better at it all the time, but still, there's other stuff that makes things difficult, of course. I'm sure we all are feeling that strain. Those of us who are sensitive feel it even more so. The more sensitive you get, the more um, debilitating it can become. It's, I don't know, it's like you develop a palate, like in tasting. And so you learn how to taste from like things that are like really like nuanced and beautiful, and then suddenly everything you're tasting is just loud and like 100%, and it's just a lot. But somewhere along the line, I went from my adorable little cottage fantasy into like some rugged, grizzled warrior movie. And like, this is where I return to my point about the universe sharpening, right? Working, working, working. Because at the end of the day, you know, where you set your compass, where you set your dial in terms of your experience, signifies what sort of ruling and reigning power you allow in your life. So, for the normal person, they tend to be the ruling power, and like the universe gets input, but the universe, it's very general. It just tends to be like a blowing wind, and sometimes some really like intense stuff hits, or some really like there's a strong sense of like you need to do this. And that's really important because there's a lot of different circumstances and opportunity that's happening. Um, that something is working in your favor to get you ahead of, so you can ride that wind wherever it is that it needs to go. But people who tend to work with the universe in a more direct input, as a sort of like a spiritual master or even a magical master, and they're sort of, working at this really enigmatic level. And then once again, you also get people who have the potential for this, and the universe doesn't really understand the difference between someone who hasn't come to understand this yet and somebody who does understand the difference. Like they're still able to handle, or they're still given um, maximum exposure, because then we start getting into elements that are like beyond time. So it gets complex. But my point is that the universe is very demanding right now. The universe is very demanding right now, and it has a lot that it wants done. And so, what I can say for the universe, in terms of, I guess you could say, interpreting its will, is it's tired of a lot of the horse poo that's going on right now, and it's bringing in change. But the way it brings in change is through people. And so there's a lot of people going through a lot of really intense experiences right now because they're the ones who have to usher it in. It's not something that just spontaneously happens. This whole process, and humanity on a whole is going through a major shift, but also a major challenge because a lot of the forces that we see embodied in leadership right now globally has been a challenge that has reoccurred throughout human history and has always been the driving force to the decline, if not all out collapse, of civilization. So, if for people who may think they know what I'm talking about, pretty much the importance of wealth and how it impacts the daily life of people. So there's this certain gauge associated with greedy rich people that gets so high and then it goes down and then it gets high and then it goes down. And when that exceeds a certain boundary, okay, it causes societal collapse because the demands that are being made are far greater than what can be given. So it's like, I mean, I don't mean to show my politics, but there's really no way escaping it at this point, this moment in history. Um, Minimum wage and wage in general has been dealing with stagnation for a long time now. And that stagnation does not meet the rising costs of services or goods. And you can only be charged so much money with the amount of pay that you're making until you break. Like, you literally can't give any more, you know? If that is not, if we're just talking in terms of numbers, in terms of just a raw system, just dehumanize everybody. These are the fucking numbers. I cussed, dang it. These are the numbers. What, uh, what can be done? Like, just in pure and simple math, like, too much is being asked. Okay, and that's not even talking about the innumerable violations of human rights. So the thing is this is something that's happened repeatedly throughout history. Okay, if you want a really good topic to look up and just totally lose your mind at how insane things have gotten, look up Roman emperors. Roman emperors, pretty much anything Rome is a really good example of um, how things have performed over time. Um, this was also a really important moment in history that calls back to Julius Caesar, and everyone's pretty familiar with what happened there. But I don't not as familiar with Caesar. Um, I need to stop saying but I'm not going to be perfectionist. This is going out. So the point is that we, the people who are spiritual, are the ones who are going to be feeling the strongest pull from the universe to change, to be something more, but also the anchor and the weight of global affairs. So it is absolutely maddening, and you need to take care of yourself at this time because of it. Now, if I could just take my whole video and cut it to that one bit, that'd be great. Could just leave it there. But I'm gonna post this whole thing, and hopefully it's not awkward. Yeah. But yeah, so the will of the universe is not something that we as mere mortals are able to control. We can contribute to the system as much as we can, but the universe, I mean, will totally reshape you with fire if you allow it to, which isn't a bad thing, but it's a very hard thing. Um, so it's important for you to be the one to set boundaries and for you to be the one to be taking care of yourself. So yeah, that's what I can say as someone that's dealt with a lot of like God stuff, universe stuff, you know. Um, okay, so I rambled a little bit and I decided to just make it a clean break. So um, rewatched the video, surprised at how nice it looks. So I mean, not nice like there's lots of things that need to be improved, of course, but just overall, like it's heart, it's got good heart. Um, yeah. So I decided that I'm gonna go on ahead and link my business, which is Azure's Mortal Conjures, and then I'm going to also put this in my blog. So I have no doubts that some of my clients definitely gonna watch this. Um, please be gentle. Okay, I know there's a lot of orders that are needing to go out. I've been working on a lot of really big orders that I've been like waiting forever on, and I probably should have worked on some of the shorter ones, but then I work on the shorter ones, and then I look back and I'm like, God, those really big ones, like I should have worked on those ones. So it's just chaos over here and disorganized and everything else that I already mentioned. So trying to get all of my shit out of the way so I can be a better conjurer and provide better quality service. And as always, communication is shit awful for my business. I'm so sorry on that end. But none of you are forgotten. I've not forgotten any of you. I've forgotten your emails, but I haven't forgotten your orders. I'm very aware of orders. Yeah, so I hope you guys found this insightful. I hope it was helpful. Um, And I'm very excited to watch things grow and for things to develop and for me to be able to share my perspective and what I understand of things and my knowledge and insight. Because at the end of the day, I've kind of been getting this message for like 3 years now, okay, where the universe is saying, like, it really doesn't matter how it gets delivered, the information is what's important. And I was wanting to put it all in a pretty little package, and that approach has gotten me like absolutely nowhere. Like it doesn't help me. It has torn my life apart. So don't do that. Just whatever the thing is, get to it as best you can. But yeah, that's it for me. I have no idea how often I'm gonna be posting videos. Um, I'll just see what tempo feels the most comfortable. Um, but I'm going to dual this as a tarot channel, so I will be putting up a tarot reading pretty soon. I had a tarot reading channel on TikTok for a little tiny while, and I don't like TikTok. I don't like TikTok. So YouTube's gonna be my center, and then I'll see about anything else. But um, yeah, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Ta ta.